Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown.
And I want to say this to the
YouTube
audience. I made my mistakes. But in all of my years of
grifting,
I have never profited from
racism.
I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of
racism,
I have never obstructed
spear chuckers.
And I think, too, that I can say that in my years of
racism,
that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not they're
grifter, racist.
Well, I'm not a
spear chucker.
Go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them. With the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
But hey, that's just a theory. A theory.
And if you have a problem with that, come f me. Physically. I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people. And maybe say it's not a good thing.
We are here once again. It is WTF Live 2 nights in a row, thanks to Tuesday's screw up. But hey, who's counting? Just me and my missed hours of sleep. Welcome back to Will of the Fans. My name is Will. See what I did there. Hopefully everybody can hear us and we're not having problems like we did on Tuesday. I think that phase is over now. Although
chat says they hear you, Will.
Super freaking duper. All right, then. We have a top story for tonight, and I'm pretty sure you guys can figure out what it is. If you haven't seen the thumbnail, I'm pretty sure you know what we're going to be talking about. Of course, it's Alyssa Mercante, the scourge of gamers, the insane, harpy, degenerate, pain in the ass, condescending, double dealing, conniving, manipulative, shrew, hoe bag, cunt herself. And her lawsuit that she has now filed against friend of the channel, Smash JT. We'll get into all of that. Of course, everybody else already has, and I was in their chat, so you may already know how I'm going to feel about it, but we haven't had our chance to really rinse over it, and I want that pound of flesh. So that's what we're going to be doing. But before that, we also have another story to cover, just to have some fun before we all get pissed off at the end. And that will be Time Magazine's Top 10 Best Video Games of 2024. A reliable source to say the least. But of course, before we get into any of that stuff, I'm joined as always by my Mr. regular panelists, Ryan Roger Athe and the problematic white guy, aka John. Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, Will. I was going to call you Wall. And I'm doing very well, Will. Hopefully we'll have a great show today. And I am very grateful that the Mercante menace does not possess nuclear weapons, because she's just pressed her own red button, folks. Expect mutually assured destruction, because everything gets leaked in a lawsuit.
Yep, absolutely right. Everything.
And as for
deleting stuff too. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, go on.
Well, as for the time game of the year, my goodness, they don't have the best track record making people person of the year. Okay, so whatever their game of the year is, my goodness, you might want to think twice before getting into it. Yes, but hopefully we'll have a great show today, folks. And now on to the problematic white guy.
Well, thank you, sir. I know you inadvertently mentioned Walls. The only person around here should really be concerned about any of that is, Mercante herself, because she's certainly already hit it, but she's about to go through an entire fucking downtown business district, one wall after the next. My morning's starting off great. As you can see, I'm actually here with a video that isn't all jittery, jumpy and whatnot. So internet connection's worked out my my actual settings, except for now my video's flipped. So I'll figure that out for next week. But I'm here. I'm ready. My avatar won't shut up, which I think is appropriate for who I am.
Neither will your owl.
No, but that's because he's still trying to get on, one of our panel shows. So
speaking of walls, your walls are so thin, your fucking owl is hooting through them.
All right, so the owl is right above the window, so that's why it's so loud.
Can you hit it with a broomstick?
No, I can't. There's an overhang that it lives on top of, basically. I think it might have a family, to be quite honest. So it's
it's a mascot. Our mascot.
Yeah.
Is there to condescendingly ask who every time we bring up the Mercante?
Well, that's going to be a more commonplace kind of thing as the years go by, because this bitch is assuring nothing but obscurity. Of course, these are my opinions, and I don't want
that
to
fucking dance, man. That cringe dance.
Yeah, you know what? I don't have a link to that. Maybe one of you guys can find that for later.
Indeed.
But anyway, we will, of course, be talking about that. We haven't got any rush news today because I figured that we will probably have a lot to unpack with a 54-page document and all of our opinions. Because I've just about had enough of that, even having to breathe the fucking name Mercante. At this point, it's not been fun for a long time. It's boring now. We just needed to go away. But we'll get to that. The cockroach that just will not die, no matter how much you spray it. But before that, we will, of course, and yes, I want to see plenty of Mercantes in the chat today.
That's right.
Of course, we would appreciate your contributions to the conversation, and don't feel like you have to hold back or anything. I'll be very happy to read out more or less anything that you want to tell us. And of course, you can join the Griff Force, get hold of those emojis and take the piss out of whoever the hell you like with all of them. Chuck some damn spears, have a bit of fun, and follow the example that has already been demonstrated by James Opp, super chatting for $2, saying, "Can't hear shit, just kidding." But you know what's weird is that I read that before I even read that out, and I still kind of for a second thought, it's so fucking cursed, this show. It's unreal. But thank you for that, mate. Appreciate it. Enjoy. And of course, like I said, you guys can join in any way you like, but do remember, I'm gonna have to get a clip of Hypno saying like the stream, because people tend to listen to him when he says it. So there you go.
Well, it's because he's hypnotic.
That might be why. Yes. You should actually just get footage of the Hypnotoad from Futurama.
Yeah,
and just play it over that. That will be the best way to go about it. But there you go. All right, then. Let's have a bit of fun first. So, Time Magazine and chat, don't find the article and read ahead, okay? Just go with us through the journey. The guys are blind. I've barely scanned it, so we're going to see what they have claimed are the top 10 games of 2024. And it's worth pointing out, 2024 is one of the worst years in video game history. There have been hardly any releases. Most of those that have released have been major disappointments. And the ones that have actually made it to shop shelves have crashed, burned, flopped, and some of them even been closed down before they've even made it a month, let alone a year. So, yeah, it's just been a very strange year. There really are only about 10 games that you can think of when you think of 2024. So it's really just going to be what order they decide they're going to list them in. So we'll get that up on the screen. But first of all, before we do that, James Up is on rapid fire tonight for $5. Wow. Says the lawyer injected terror into the situation in an attempt to establish New York's jurisdiction.
The Queer Council, I believe, is what they're being called.
I will. What's that?
The Queer Council, was that the term that was being bandied about last night?
I mean, that's the term that the imposter version of Marilyn Transon was using on Smash JT's stream. But I don't know what validity it has. I haven't really followed anything that may have happened on social media. I've just read the document. So if there's anything I've missed out from that side of things, guys, do interject and let me know. Because like I said, I've only just about had time today to read this damn document, make a video about it, make another video for later, and then fire up the stream pretty much.
Right.
So there we are. We'll go through the, dare I say, discovery by ourselves. And thank you, James Op. Yeah, I know that the only reason the phrase terror was included was to drum up the drama and the New York jurisdiction and all of that BS, because it won't make a difference when the law says freedom of speech cannot be overpowered by a lawsuit. And also there are actual factual errors in the text. So yeah, we'll get to that.
Quite a few omissions.
As I said, we're going to go through Time Magazine's top 10 best video games of the year, which of course must come with a massive asterisk because they haven't got any legitimacy to be talking about games in any way, shape, or form. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, and anybody else who wants to join in, go ahead. I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. But here we are, Time Magazine, a very spurious article from a very spurious publication, the best video games. And you can already see a few hints at what may be included in this.
Oh, wow.
In this list. Not looking good, is it?
Yeah, I kind of see one that might drag queen this down a little bit.
Well, let's see. They even admit that 2024 was a relatively quiet year for video games. The highly anticipated blockbuster games were fewer in number and largely spread out from each other, at least up until the fall, when several games released at the same time. I think you mean autumn. Creating a pile-up to explore, the year's best of offering is less about finding the perfect games and more about finding rewarding experiences, even among the setbacks. And what's true for gaming is often true for life as well. Obviously, it's going to go into everything that happened in the video game industry, the SAG-AFTRA effect on the movie industry, and everything else that's going on in pop culture. But we are going to skip all that bollocks because we've talked about it all year and get to the first game, Helldivers 2. What do we think, guys?
Great game, badly managed.
Yeah, mostly the community management and their, I don't know, like whenever they would put out a new update, they would go about nerfing all the old weapons. So like you'd get like all this stuff that seemed like really cool, and then 6 weeks later it was complete and utter shit.
It's like reverse No Man's Sky. It started off incredible and then just got worse as it was updated.
Yeah, they kept nerfing abilities. They kept taking away things from the game. And ultimately, the community management pissed off so many people that they ended up more angry about that than about the to sneak in the syncing of PlayStation Network with Steam.
Right.
It's going to be,
which is one of those things. It goes to show how important your frontline kind of facing. I guess they're probably paid, so your frontline facing employees can be to an overall structure or something. Even at that very bottom, yet of like, well, I guess they're the tip of the spear, so to speak, and that's the first thing you counter, and they're like, far too piercing in their ideological concerns to actually allow the game to do what it was intended.
Are you deliberately using spear iconography?
Oh dear. well, when your literal game mechanics are dependent on a strong, united player base, which Helldivers 2 needs for the game to not only function, but for the story to carry out, the overarching story. The fact that it was so mismanaged that it led to so many people no longer playing the game, that the game's front line was collapsing, and the opposition, the AI-based opposition, be it the bugs or the actual bots in the automatons, were breaking through the lines and threatening the security of Super Earth. So in Helldivers 2's case, they alienated their project to such an extent that it really destroyed the core nature of what the game is for, because there was so much hype, there was so much, by political standards it would be called propaganda, but there was so much hype surrounding this project. It needed more players to stop the encroaching opposition, the AI bots and the bug creatures. So for the people behind Helldivers 2, and I think Sony is the core problem for this project, for them to badly mismanage this game just goes to show that the phenomena of a great game mismanaged to the point of its own destruction is something that exists. And it never used to exist before. When a game got released that was crap, it was crap. When a game was released that was good, it was good. There was never this process, because games were created, born, as it were, and then they die after many years of people playing them.
Yeah,
most of them held in high regard.
Yeah,
or they immediately just fall in the dirt.
People loved it because it was a riff on, like they say here, it was a riff on Starship Troopers. Although I feel like they've kind of missed the point here at Time Magazine when they've attributed it to the Paul Verhoeven movie, where they tried to make out, as he did, that it was actually an indictment on fascism, whereas actually the original Heinlein book is actually praising libertarianism. So they completely, like, the movie's great, don't get me wrong, love the movie, but it really isn't accomplishing what it sets out to do. But it is still great, and people really enjoyed having a lot of fun killing the bugs, and it was absolutely going brilliantly well. Everybody and their mums was playing it. They got increasingly angry when the PlayStation stuff came in, like you got to merge it with PlayStation Network. The fact that came in after the game came out, so people had time to get into it, get hooked, and then, oh, sorry, you're gonna have to link a PlayStation account to it. People were pissed. The community management coming out and attacking everybody, banning people and such, and then of course nerf, just destroying the sentiment around the game. Hardly anyone talks about it anymore. Everyone's playing Marvel Rivals now.
Yeah, they even did what they could to rectify the situation. They actually, about 3-4 months ago, they actually went back in, unnerfed all the stuff, and actually just got to the point where it's like, all right, well, we should actually be buffing things instead, and actually give people just like, a more robust fun experience.
Bolted.
Right. But in doing that, though, like, because the damage had already been done, it could be the greatest thing since sliced bread now at this point in time. People aren't really going back to it just because they've lost the good faith. And that's what is essential for any good game to actually, exist beyond, just a few brief moments in time.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, do you think that it should be number 10?
I mean, it's on the list, so
I think it should be higher. Frankly, I know it's had several disasters, but it's still more appreciated.
I'm sure compared to the other things that we're going to see that are
almost any AAA game this year. Yeah, exactly.
Well, how we analyze this project is quite unique, because have there been other examples of a great game at release that gets so mismanaged that it collapses in on itself in such a short space of time?
No, not in that kind of space of time. I was thinking like over 20 years World of Warcraft might qualify for something like that.
So
but,
we only have, we only have one frame of reference, and that is World of Warcraft that we can all think of. So in this sense, as a game in that of itself, it is great, but its legacy is completely shot. So when it was released in the early months, it was a fantastic game. Could well have been Game of the Year, but legacy is so... Well, yes, and that's why legacy is so important for not just games, but all projects, folks, especially if you're going to use this immortal-esque live service model where the project never dies. Well, if that's the case, you will have to support it until you're dead yourself. Okay?
Yeah. But you're right, though. There isn't really... I can't think off the top of my head of any other real examples of games that started off like absolutely blowing people's minds, and then within 6 months has lost the majority of its player base due to just appalling mismanagement and community support.
Well, we have two examples of the other way around. Final Fantasy XIV, No Man's Sky, to a lesser extent Cyberpunk 2077. The idea of a very hyped project not living up to expectations initially, but improving continuously into the future, that we have a precedent for. But something like this, there's no precedent for it, which just goes to show, in Sony's case, with their gaming division, their objective is not about quality content. It is not about quality gaming, which made PlayStation the #1 in console gaming. It's about a command and control system, and that is going to destroy them. Like all command and control systems, ultimately destroy themselves, because the control is the most important aspect, not the development, not the improvement, and certainly not financial profit.
Yeah. And as it applies to the community management aspect, the only other thing I can really think of that it didn't necessarily start off the best, but it definitely became one of the best play experiences was Red Dead Online. And then the company themselves got caught up in a profiteering mindset, and they completely undid all the goodwill that they built up over years. And it completely, just killed that thing.
We've seen it happen with companies, but not so much with the one game.
Right.
So it's kind of a unique story, actually. Yeah. Usually, if you release a game and everyone loves it, you just ride that wave. You don't start fucking with it. It's like rule #1,
It's like you planted a garden and start pulling out everything once it starts sprouting, and it's like
I know it's madness. It's really it's fucking crazy. But anyway, we'll move on. Number 9 is Lego Horizon Adventures.
No one's played this game to make that assessment.
This game was announced and released at the PlayStation State of Play. And not only did it not move the needle, the Horizon proper Zero Dawn remake barely moved the needle, because only thing anyone was talking about was Ghost of Yotei having a female protagonist and potentially being full of DEI and bollocks.
Did Sony did they put the money behind this list? That's my initial thought right now. Just kind of just seeing this on here, because this is just
it's madness.
Why? Yeah.
How is this higher than Helldivers 2?
Right. Even
this
if there were
isn't even
top
relevant.
20, I wouldn't see this thing being on. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about this thing, because it's just this is a fart in the wind.
I've got literally nothing to say about it, so we'll move on. Star Wars Outlaws, number 8.
Fuck off. Fucking hell, man. Fuck off. That's my statement.
Fuck off, innit? Yeah. I mean, this is absurd. This is one of the absolute turkeys of the year.
What's going to be number 7? Concorde? What's going to be number 6? Dustmore? Jesus fucking Christ.
You're sponsored by Ubisoft and Sony. Jesus.
This is driving me to drink. Fuck this.
Yeah, I wish I had something here. But no,
This might go
it's,
quicker than we thought because
it's absolutely serious. No, Star Wars Outlaws. Then, yeah. I mean, this game doesn't belong on any list at all of top 10 anything, unless
Top
it's
50.
top 10 subjects we milked for views.
Top 10 top 10 Ubisoft games this decade.
Top 10
Star Wars
Ubisoft
Top 10
Outlaws.
ways to lose a
Number
friend,
8.
you know?
Top 10
Jesus.
complete catastrophes for Ubisoft, and in which
Right.
case it's probably number 2 or 3. Not even the best fuck up, to be honest. But
No.
there you go. The 8th best game of the year, according to Time Magazine, Star Wars Outlaws. Because let's be honest, the people at Time Magazine don't play video games.
No.
So they
they
just
don't,
literally
really.
looked at what was released this year and put them into an order based on probably some fucking
Brand
IGN.
recognition. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. They go on about fucking KVS, which was a massive roast. There's all these other games like that came out this year as well. Someone just pointed out Pal World. That had millions of players. So it's ridiculous that this is anywhere near this list, but it is. KVS looked like a cross between the wrestler Adam Copeland and a mop, and also
And
let's
the guy
not
from
forget.
the Warriors.
Yeah, that too. Let's not forget, by the way, that the woman who played her, although she is a bit of an SJW, is a very attractive Latina girl who they then took and changed in various ways so that she could embody every single race at the same time and ended up looking like no human being ever should. So
He's epically beige.
and it's funny, really, because if all the races in the world did start like mass interbreeding, to the point that in about 1,000 years we're all the same exact color, or even in maybe 500
that's
years
their
we're all
ultimate
basically the
mindset.
same color. Yeah, well, the thing is though that the beautiful genes tend to, the cream rises to the top. If you've ever seen like an interracial child, they've got like the best features of both parents, almost always. And so there's that. But in this case, it's like all the worst recessive genes were put together to make one human face. You then add to that the fact that there was bugs, glitches, a plot no one cared about, a gameplay loop no one wanted, and that it was supposed to be an MMO Mandalorian simulator. What a fucking disappointment. Yet 8th best game of the year, according to Time You Got a Pulse magazine. Anyway, there you go.
It's funny.
Moving
It's
on
funny
then.
to know that you can lose hundreds of millions of dollars and still be recognized as one of the best properties. I mean, you'd like to think the profitability of games would kind of be a condition to even be on the list, but clearly no.
Yep, absolutely right. And just before we crack on, I've got another super chat I want to read here from Fen Glord. Is that a double D? Is that a Welsh thing? I can't remember where that comes from.
I have no idea.
It says, you'll read anything. The only humans that scrub themselves with hexachlorophene are the surgeons. That's right. I didn't stumble. Thank you very much, though, for the challenge. Appreciate it. I will fuck up something epically one day, and then it'll make me look like a real dickhead. And Andy C has gifted 1 Will of the Fans membership. Very much appreciated. Yeah! And heartfelt condolences on what we're talking about in the chat. I'm very sorry to hear about your loss. I went through something similar myself a couple of years ago when we lost my mother. So therefore, my father lost his wife, and you never quite get over it. Not completely. But it is good to be surrounded by family, friends where you can, and I hope you're able to make the most of the holidays anyway. Thank you for the donated membership. Anyway, what do you reckon next, guys? Good game or bad game?
The way it's going so far, I doubt it's going to be good.
Well, actually, you may be surprised. I'm going to argue that this next game should not be in this position at all, but in fact should be way, way higher. It's Black Myth Wukong.
Well, we sit on the list.
Game of the year. Incredibly, it actually did make the list.
Yeah, I'm a bit shocked.
There you are. Yeah.
I mean, I was all waiting to have my rant at the end of this about where's Black Myth Wukong, where's Stellar Blade, where's, like all this stuff that actually, legitimately did something to move the needle and actually entertain people. But hey,
well, if it's any consolation, there will be a lot of opportunities for you to, shout in disbelief. I can't believe this is doing better than and ranked higher than Black Myth Wukong, because we are only at number 7, meaning there are 6 more to go. So there you go. Right, Black Myth Wukong, of course, is a phenomenal success. Came out of nowhere. Kind of, anyway. Obviously had major support from China because it's a Chinese game. And also it gained the benefit of being supported by Gamergate because it was unfairly smeared and attacked by the sexuality grifters at IGN. So that's basically why this game hit the radar. But then, of course, as a result, everybody played it, streamed it, and had a fucking wonderful time with it. So, great. That's fantastic. This game absolutely deserves to be top 3.
Much higher. Yeah. I was going to say, at least it, got a 7 out of 10, so to speak, but in the wrong kind of damn list. So,
I mean, it would, what are the real successes that we can think of this year? Stellar Blade, obviously. Black Myth Wukong, obviously.
Space Marine 2, Helldivers 2.
Yeah. Space Marine 2 should probably be number 3, with Wukong or Stellar Blade, either one, number 1 or 2.
Of course, Pal World as well. I think
Pal World was great, but it was only a beta back then.
Well, at least it existed back then. Nintendo's trying their best to kill it. But in terms of Black Myth Wukong, I think we look at this from our own perspectives from the wrong angle, especially from a Western mindset. This game was so good, it has changed the gaming landscape from a primarily console gaming, PC gaming landscape, from a primarily Western one to being a balance between West and East, because you guys are right. The vast majority of people who played this game were based in Red China. And that is why, from my perspective, you see a lot of these Western mainstream media outlets from an entertainment perspective shitting on this game. Because if a Chinese company can make a great AAA-esque game with a AA based budget, then console gaming, PC gaming will all go Eastern, and not the kind of Eastern that the West can control, like, say, Japan or South Korea or, say, Blue China.
Yeah, no, it'll be the wild cards, like Chinese Communist Party games. And
it'll be these great red Chinese projects that will resonate with whole generations of people across the world. And once they get a foot in the door, then the ideology comes in. Not full force, because
it'll be more of the same then, basically. Just
it'll be subtle. It'll be subtle things, little things that don't alienate the audience, and that will be protected by a periphery of great content. You'll have little things for, say, historical games, little things for geographic locations like Taiwan, for example. Just little things, because if you look at the recent history of China alongside our recent history, when the communists try to, go all out on their opposition, they get their hands bloody and dirty. So they've learned, as we should learn, that subtlety is the best way to convince people, but you're not going to convince people without creating a great product. And this is a great product. Hopefully other projects coming out of Red China will be great products, but expect subtle ideological infiltration in the future. You look at Marvel Rivals. It's a great game. Have the means in Red China to make these great games. But damn, they're going to put their ideology in it eventually, because without it, they're not them. So they, just in the comfort of their own country.
Yeah, and then it will be a cycle that repeats itself. A new territory will emerge. They'll put their ideology in and get rejected, and we'll just have Gamergate 5, 6, 7. Yeah, every sort of 10 years or so, someone will get too big for their britches, and we'll have to bring them down a peg or two.
That sounds like a cultural revolution to me, Will, and the Chinese have plenty of experience in that department. John, you're going to say something.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to just add to your point that, this game and Rivals both show that gameplay is fundamentally key, because you can either be like a brand new, property entirely in the case of Black Myth Wukong and resonate quite well as long as you actually have a tight-knit group of people that are focused on actually bringing the fundamentals of gameplay to the forefront. And then like in the case of Marvel Rivals, Marvel's kind of dog shit. In terms of like what it actually has become under the ownership of Disney. But even that hasn't been enough to sway people and keep them from actually playing something that's got fundamental tight gameplay and actually just tries to, do appropriate fan service and, give people what they're actually looking for, which is a rewarding play experience.
Absolutely, yeah. So there you go. Black Myth Wukong taking only the 7th spot. James Up chimed in for another $2 and said Dragon's Dogma 2. That's a good point. That was earlier this year. I completely forgot about it. I heard it was very well received, but I never actually got around to playing it myself either. So thanks for reminding me of that. And another one that I thought of as well earlier was Sparking Zero, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. A lot of people loved that. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, thanks very much. All right, moving on then. And we have at number 6, Alan Wake 2, Night Springs and the Lake.
A fucking DLC?
You're
putting me on. You're putting me on. Jesus
This is the fucking year where DLCs are getting are getting praised and celebrated as if they were actual game releases. It cannot count. You cannot count fucking DLC unless you have a specific DLC category. You can't give it like the title of a game of the year when it came out the year before.
Just make a game called Alan Wake, Night Springs, and the Lake House.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan, and Alan Wake is steeped in Twin Peaksiness, as you can see from this image right here. It's got the red curtain, beyond the Fritz and everything like that. But and as much as I loved the first game, I don't even want to touch Alan Wake 2, and even if they improved upon what it was by just focusing on Alan Wake on this expansion, I'm still never going to check into it because it's still going to be attached to that piece of dog shit that came out at the end of last year.
Yep. And no one's going to be happy with the idea that Alan Woke is anywhere in this list because again, this is your first chance to say really higher than Black Myth Wukong, a game that still hasn't actually made any money, and you're celebrating DLC for it. How are they justifying this? 4 hours of new gameplay.
Completely ideologically driven.
I remember when
4 hours, guys.
I remember when Dynasty Warriors would release like the base game, and then would release Extreme Legends, and then would release Empires, like three separate games. And Extreme Legends was just a glorified add-on to like the original game. Because they had
Game of the Year edition, basically.
Yeah, essentially, especially if you had to take one disc out and put it in, and that's how they did it. Because even back in the 2000s, folks, Koei were money-grabbing bastards.
True, but I love that. I do love the Dynasty Warriors games, and One Piece Pirate Warriors, Hyrule Warriors, Dragon Quest Heroes, all good shit.
Yeah, I think this is another example of. Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is another great example of how awards themselves are really just a form of stealth marketing these days. And you might actually get something that is legitimate, but it's not going to be, actually praised in the way that it should, because we've already seen that with Black Myth Wukong, right here, being on the back half of the list. And I'm sure we're about to see even more Drek and utter just contemptuous bullshit that
actually the next game actually does have a little bit of verifiable
validity?
Quality. It's Never. And a lot of people really like this. It was,
do you want me to say it, Will? I've never heard of this.
Yeah. It's like I'm immediately thinking of Kami just by looking at the image.
No. It's about a girl and a wolf. It's like, as they say here, it's a puzzle, simple combat. Hayao Miyazaki's Princess Mononoke is an inspiration for it. And if you've not seen Princess Mononoke, you're really missing out. It's probably the best of all the Studio Ghibli films. Everyone absolutely loves that. I say Ghibli too, but most people say Ghibli, so I kind of corrected myself there. But there you go.
I'm not worried about being correct.
I just hope Balatro isn't in this bloody lineup, because we could see a possibility of Game of the Year, Indie Game of the Year, and Mobile Game of the Year being won by the same game in Balatro, which is a fucking card game.
Yeah. They evidently, yesterday, they just put out a new update to Cyberpunk 2077 that evidently even has a Balatro level side quest that they added in. You just can't get away from it.
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of people really like this. I never played it, but as a big fan of Mononoke, I can say now I'm slightly more interested. And I haven't actually made that connection myself, so quite interesting.
Yeah.
Absolutely everybody in the chat, make sure that you have seen Princess Mononoke, because it's fucking excellent. And if you haven't seen it, well, just don't, do something about it. You don't want to be considered a cinematic idiot.
I'll put it on the FFS Discord. We'll do a watch night some night if people just
do it. Absolutely do it.
That's a great
even the English dub is fantastic, by the way. Like, you've got like Billy Crudup and Minnie Driver as voice actors, and they both did very good performances, considering that the movie came out in 1997 and then was obviously localized much later, but not that much later. It was early 2000s. No. So there you go.
Holds up really well.
So what do you think is number 4?
I don't know.
Oh God. I mean, we're getting close to drag queen age, having to be up here somewhere. Is it going to just miss out on the top 3? I don't know. Because there's like a lot of ideological fuckery involved in this stuff. Oh, Silent Hill 2, a remake.
Yep, a remake.
Wow.
And a remake that censored the vast majority of the stuff that people actually liked about the original, completely fucked up the character models, lied, argued black's white that the character models weren't fucked up, then corrected the character models to make them look a little bit more like actual human beings, but still nothing like they're supposed to look in the original game, and removed the horrifying introduction scene of Pyramid Head. And
and the nurse.
Yeah. Terrible. Just an insult from Bloober Team, which, by the way, this was about the time when I realized almost every...
spelled blooper wrong.
Right? Almost every stupid company that comes in and butchers video games these days has a weird pseudo-cutesy name. What is with this?
Well, you call it a remake. It's a remake remade by the people who didn't make it, courtesy of a company who don't know how to make video games anymore.
Right.
If you had told me Balatro was a Konami-made game, I'd fucking believe you.
Oh, yeah, because it would probably from a pachinko machine these days.
Yeah, Konami's return to form, introducing Balatro.
I mean, there's already pachinkos. There's already a Silent Hill pachinko machine. There's already a Metal Gear Solid pachinko machine. There's a Castlevania pachinko machine.
Yeah.
There's
Konami pretty
loads,
much just
loads.
turned into pachinko machines there for a good stretch of time. They basically
That's all they
got
did,
out of game development almost entirely.
KGC, the Konami Gambling Corporation.
Right, but
Yeah.
to your point about like the weird, silly names, I think that's just par for the course with all these self-indulgent, narcissistic game devs that are doing shit for themselves. To not dust this up again, but Ryan made a very valid point earlier. The name of your game company can do quite a bit for you in terms of its legacy. I mean, I shudder to think that like we'll go through it all again if I just say that I think Spirit Chucker Studios would be a great name for a game studio. I really do.
Yeah. Spear Chucker Studios. I don't know what to say about that, but yeah. This game, of course, only actually achieved something like 24,000 concurrent players on Steam at its peak, which is abysmal, especially considering the vast number of people who have completely ignored the consoles this generation and decided to migrate to PC, myself included. So if you're only pulling that kind of number on Steam, you are bad. Really not doing very well. Certainly not deserving of being number 4 in the best games of the year, especially over games like Black Myth Wukong, which, obviously did incredible numbers. So there you go.
So that means that Drag Queen Age is going to be in the top 3.
I haven't said anything, but
I know, but that opening, like when we first started, they legitimately had a picture of Drag Queen Age on there. So, man,
place your bets now. Chat you too.
Right.
You see, but of course, you're not allowed to read ahead. Anyway, where are we?
One.
That was.
It has to be the next one. There's no way they could give it number 1 or number 2.
You are wrong. Number 3 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh Christ!
Another. I can't believe I have to say this because I love Final Fantasy VII, as you probably already know, considering I have a little miniature of polygonal Cloud from the original, which I use as a prop sometimes when I need to.
Why can't they just make that bastard look like that and all his friends and enemies look like that within the existing system of gaming?
Exactly. I mean, I played Final Fantasy VII Remake and I enjoyed it while I was playing it until near the end when the plot went completely awry and started changing history, and like Wedge survived and Barrett died and got resurrected, and then you have a fight with Sephiroth who you've never even seen until like that entire first game should not have had Sephiroth in it for even a minute, and yet he was constantly in it.
I mean, it made Sonya Lisette quite happy, but that's
probably yes. But so the thing is, I'm like you guys. I assume John, but Ryan definitely, I guess. I want the game as it was, mechanically, identical. Like, I don't care if there's bugs and things that, that you wish weren't in there. They're part of history now. You don't change that shit. You don't change the battle system. You don't change anything about it at all mechanically. All you need is a new coat of paint, graphically speaking, and an updated version of the soundtrack. Now, I really enjoyed the remake soundtrack because, of course, there are all these new versions of battle themes, boss themes, and stuff. Like when you're fighting the Scorpion boss at the very beginning of the Mako reactor, when they're blowing it up, and you get sort of hints of the bombing mission music and hints of those who fight further as a boss theme and all of that stuff, and it was absolutely fantastic. Loved it. Oh, I like 8 as well, by the way. Unpopular opinion these days, but I like 8 too, Lilith. But I love 7. It was totally a mind-blowing experience for me. I just want to play the same fucking thing again with better graphics and better sound. That's it.
Right.
I mean, it just sharper graphics on the menus too. Come.
Well, it is part of a greater question when it comes to gaming. When you look at the current state of gaming into the future of gaming, because one of the biggest complaints we've seen with Avowed is that it looks like a jankier version of Obsidian, but not Obsidian, of Oblivion. See, look, there's your blooper, ladies and gentlemen.
I heard it as Oblivion too. Yeah, I nodded in my head.
Just think about it, though. With the existing technology that we have available to make things better, crisper, cleaner, and more precise, would people accept an Oblivion-esque game in today's day and age? And from my perspective, I don't think they would. And I think the same could be said of something inspired by, say,
what you mean. If you have better graphics, better mechanics, but less stripping away of those mechanics, like, because a lot of people really didn't like that Skyrim took away stats for like each independent move you can make in the game, like jumping or running, like they had in Oblivion, and there was a lot more customizability over your character in Oblivion. But basically, Oblivion with a coat of paint. Yeah,
I think what people want, though, Will, especially in today's day and age, is we always want the next generation of anything to be better than the current or previous generation. And I think the people, especially in gaming, are sick and tired of what they see rightfully and what we see as a decline in traditional console-based gaming, so much so that consoles are becoming irrelevant now, that they want a new generation of great games. And thankfully, we are getting some examples of them.
You're right, but because consoles try to be PCs now, and that doesn't work because you have PCs. So you don't need a console that behaves like a PC when it's cheaper to upgrade your PC.
Right.
There's no point. And what's the point in having a remake game that loses all of the core greatness of the original in favor of wildly far too increased quality graphics and mechanics that don't need, and a bunch of extra filler crap in there? You could play Final Fantasy VII for 100 hours.
Yeah.
But now they're releasing it in 3 games. And I still don't know how the fuck they're going to do that, because they only had Midgar in the first game. And what did this get up to? The end of disc 1 of the original by the time of the second
something
game.
like that. Yeah.
So you've got the entirety of disc 2 and 3. And all of the global exploration? Are you going to be able to breed chocobos and fly or whatever it was? No, you could run on the ocean to Round Island. Can you get master material? Can you get master summon?
Square, I think, trying to stretch out these projects to ensure,
which means they have to remove content,
right?
To ensure
they're going to become more divergent.
It's to ensure that they can still have projects further down the road. Because when you lack material, folks, guess what you do? You stretch it out, and you try to give you more pieces.
But there is no lack of material. There's no lack of material with Final Fantasy VII.
Or materia.
Yeah.
I meant for the company as a whole. That's why these things are being stretched out.
But I think what this is indicative of is, Square's over-reliance on the brand name of Final Fantasy VII specifically. And so,
it didn't make money.
An iterative... Right. But what I'm saying is,
it stands to reason, John, that it would also break them too.
Right.
But you put too much money into it, so then you have to justify that investment by making 3 games instead of 1.
Right, 3 games. They also had the mobile game. They had the movie. They had the Advent Children
Crisis
movie
Core,
as well.
Crisis Core remake. Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah. So
and as you said, Advent Children before Crisis. Then there's the Turks games, the mobile games that were already in Japan. Loads of stuff like that. But you basically just all we ever wanted was Final Fantasy VII in widescreen in 1080p with an orchestral recording of the soundtrack,
right?
And a metal band for the boss themes. That's
and
about
maybe
it.
some voice work. That's about it. But even I was fine. If
could have added voice acting. A lot of people were very happy with the cast of pretty much every Final Fantasy VII character in every iteration that they've had so far. So
I think the third game in the series is going to be completely divergent. It's going to be its own. That one's
going to be 3 discs.
That's the other thing.
It'll be its own game entirely.
Could you imagine though, Will? Could you imagine the third Final Fantasy VII game, remade game, has literally 3 discs in it to pay homage.
I mean, the only way that you could justify that would be if at some point you actually get complete freedom to explore the entire planet in the Highwind, like you do.
I don't see that
in
being
the
the case.
original. This is never going to happen, is
I
it?
think-
They're not going to do that. There's for some reason there is an utter and complete aversion to world maps in modern RPGs. Why? They were perfect. People love a world map.
Right. Any more Final Fantasies, you just go down one terminal to the next terminal to the next terminal to the next terminal. It's very on rails.
A corridor.
And then
Whereas
you see Will.
like Alien Chronicle, that has a world map. What about them? God, what were the ones that were like Miyazaki games? Nino Kuni, that had a world map. People love that. It reminds them, or the Star Ocean remakes of the first 2 games.
So far,
and with world maps.
Yeah, so far this list is showing just how detached Time Magazine is, and just completely
and the company
disconnected from the gaming landscape as a whole. Like this list so far, because I mean, so now number 2 is either Drag Queen. If they give Drag Queen Age number 1 on this list, I mean, I'm bracing for it now because it has to be number 2 though, and if it's not, my shit. They literally.
You know, I remember where I first discovered David Jaffa Cake from now. He was trying to play Astrobot and kept failing at it. Because I
the
heard
man who created God of War can't play Astrobot.
Exactly. And that's the first time I ever became aware of David Jaffa Cake. And it was just in passing. I was just scrolling through, seeing what was happening, and I saw it in a post, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Moving on.
Lucky you.
I like Astrobot, but
years.
How this is on the list, this high, like, and Black Myth Wukong, like, these should be easily flipped, because the first Astrobot was basically
Astrobot is the greatest game ever to be on the PS5.
I suppose.
A lot of people are saying it is, actually. Yeah, a lot of people are saying
I mean,
but that's
I
probably
enjoyed the
because of
first
the
one.
utter dearth of anything memorable on PS5.
It's largely because it's the only game on PS5, John.
All right, there you go.
Right.
So,
Pretty
okay,
much.
we have obviously very little to say about Astrobot. People have received it fairly well.
It's a good game, but it
Sony's
shouldn't
got
be
themselves a
this
new little
high.
mascot. And the last and definitely least,
good God. For fuck's sakes, they actually did it.
What? What the fuck?
May I point out this was also the same company that made a certain man Time Man of the Year in a certain period of time. Well, actually,
a certain Austrian
and
painter.
Georgian. At least they made the Orange Man Person of the
This
Year.
game still hasn't made its budget and never will. I mean, it's never gonna.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Go on, John. I'm sorry. I'll stop
For
interrupting
fuck's
you. with
sakes,
the
no.
clips now.
Right. It's just like I mean, I guess we should have known, because this is the height of elitism and ideology at play. This is like, but Stellar Blade is completely omitted from this list.
Not on there.
Was not even in consideration.
Dragon's Dogma ignored completely, snubbed. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, snubbed.
Not a single Nintendo game, snubbed.
Not one.
Jesus Christ! I
Only
would have
Triple
expected
A shit.
Hades 2 would have
They
been a
made
better
room
fucking.
for a remake and DLC, but fuck my life. Oh my god!
What is this?
Let's just see what it says, shall we?
Right,
Between
yeah, read
Elder
this.
Scrolls and Baldur's Gate 3, there's no shortage of great high fantasy RPGs to play.
That's true, but that doesn't include this project.
Right.
It has been a decade since Dragon Age Inquisition, and despite an incredible run for developer BioWare, their last decade was marred by the cancelled game Shadow Realms, the disappointing Mass Effect Andromeda, and a disastrous foray into MMOs with Anthem. There was reason to wonder if BioWare still had the sauce to return to Dragon Age. Boy, did they ever!
You smug You liar!
That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, what a bunch of bastards.
We're fucking liars. This is the worst Dragon Age game by fucking miles.
Yes, by
this
a
is
country
unbearable
mile.
to watch. This is the most cringe-inducing and also shockingly low-quality Dragon Age flavored puddle of piss that's ever been fucking released. How could they, with a straight face, literally sit and type that they succeeded in coming back to Dragon Age with Veilguard? It comes out swinging. Yeah, maybe if you mean hanging from a fucking tree.
or swinging its arm-made dildo.
Fucking 42%. 42%.
Christ. To bring out Inquisition. Yes, it's been 10 years.
Inquisition and wait 3 hours yet. Like this is
and then
this
they invoke Inquisition
Jesus
and then imply that this BioWare clearly had something to prove.
Yeah, it could
First,
prove
hats
how
off.
They still do.
How low can they go? That's the proving.
Hats off to what has to be the most advanced character creation system ever brought to video games.
Bullshit. Absolute
Eat my entire
bullshit.
Nice tits.
The Witcher 3 has a better character creation system, and it doesn't even have one.
SmackDown versus Raw 2006 has a better character creation system.
Right.
Yeah,
dude, like, and it's for much as they want to go on about how great the hair model is and like its physics. No, it clips all the goddamn time. I'm not that impressed by it. Like,
yeah, it was awful. The character creation system was like a stripped down version of your standard issue THQ. What was it made? Dimps or Yukis or someone who made the WWE THQ games, the SmackDown versus Raw series.
It's not even an improvement of Inquisition's character creator, which was limiting. One of the improvements.
No, they've limited it more. You can't even have big boobs and a big butt, or big muscles, or be tall or short, or really skinny or really fat.
As someone who praises Inquisition constantly when Dragon Age is mentioned, one of its shortcomings, from my perspective, is its limited character creator. And they've made it.
Do you remember this? I'm sorry. Do you remember this game got defeated by Farming Simulator 25? That was a good time when I made that video. That was fun. Yes,
I mean,
guys,
why
like
isn't
the
that?
stream. We got 88 people watching the stream at the moment. Please hit the like button and bring in some more people to argue with. It's always
I mean,
good.
give the
Sorry,
character
guys, go on.
creator away for free. Like, if it's so good, wouldn't people have to? You know, why would you give that away for free unless you were actually trying to entice? Like, I mean,
Well,
this
John,
is
speaking of
sprinkles on a turd, dude. Like, this is.
John,
But
speaking
now
of
we get
simulate,
to the real reason why it's number one, of course.
well,
Yeah.
I was just going to
Non-binary.
mention in regards to. Well, I'm a bit confused now. My goodness, talk about
Maybe they were really taking with Suicide McDougan's, and that's what they're referring to in terms of like its robust character models.
I know Will was making a joke earlier, but seriously, why isn't there a simulator game? Because as a potential game of the year, because you had Farming Simulator 2025, good game, solid game. You also had a very successful simulator game, Police Simulator, that I think was released this year. It might have been released a year or two ago, but that was a fantastic simulator. But no, it would be problematic to have a police simulator being game of the year.
Oh, of course, you can't have that.
Ill at the moment. Like
Joel
I have
Floyd, DLC. Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, So obviously, just looking at this, you can tell why these games are in the list and the others are not, despite the fact that these aren't even in a lot of top 10 lists for sales numbers. Only Black Myth Wukong would be number 1.
Yeah.
Immediately, and everything else would be vying for 10th, apart from Helldivers.
Right, at best.
Yeah. Like, literally, there's a gulf between, like, Dragon Age Veilguard, failure. Astrobot, success.
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, failure. Silent Hill 2, failure. Never, don't know enough about it. Alan Wake 2, DLC, qualified. Black Myth Wukong, massive success. Star Wars Outlaws, total catastrophe. Lego Horizon Adventures,
Piss in the wind.
Helldivers 2, success. So you got like 3-4 successes in there and a bunch of fucking AAA bombs that proved to be more controversial than Donald Trump.
Ubisoft and Sony paid for this article, and they're just masquerading it as games of the year. That is
all it can be, really, isn't it? Microsoft and Sony paid them, yeah. That's it. And Ubisoft. Yeah. Bonkers. Utter shit. Anyway, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this article written by a bunch of liars, because we're going to have pretty much nothing but lies until the end of the night now.
Who wrote this article, Will? Is there a name?
If it was Alyssa, we riot.
Yeah.
Richard Newby.
Yeah, he's a newbie, all right.
You're a fucking noob.
No, but in all seriousness, it says 19 minutes to read, yet there's a 23-minute recording in terms of, talking about.
Let's just have a look. He also wrote oh my God, get this off my screen. The top 10 of 2023. What do we have? Reg. Never played it. Diablo 4. All right.
Tell you anything about it.
I guess Mario Brothers Wonder, Dead Space remake, Resident Evil 4 remake.
Remake.
Tears of the Kingdom easily number 1. Spider-Man 2, fuck off. Sweet baby bullshit.
Jesus,
Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, fair enough. Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2. You motherfucker. You absolute fucking liars.
You liar!
Right,
Charlatan.
Oh, I guess. Jesus. Wow.
I didn't hear
it was so bad.
Abandoned
all systems malfunctioned. They still are.
Oh my God. Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
Game of the Year by Time Magazine 2023. What the fuck, man? This doesn't make any sense. These people don't know anything.
I mean, at least then I suppose it had the promise that it could have made sales, but years later, when it hasn't made those sales, and then they put out a fucking goddamn expansion that goes absolutely nowhere. The fact that both of those are on the list over the course of over 2 years.
John, this is coming from a magazine that made 2 genocidal maniacs Man of the Year in the same decade.
Yep, true.
Point taken. Point taken.
That is true. That is true. Yep. That is 100% true.
Wow.
So there you go.
Talk about irrelevant.
The liars are en masse. We'll be getting to another big liar in just a moment. But first of all, Andy C gifted another Will of the Fans membership to some lucky person. Thank you. Yeah. And the Raging D-Head. Good name. Still like that name.
Indeed.
For $2, says new magazine name, Time's Up. Absolutely.
Yeah. By the way, while Raging D-Head is here on the screen, I just want to thank you both for throwing me under the bus in front of Hypno last night. I was, well played to both of you. Thank you.
Well done. And there you go. All right, then. We are now obligated, really. We'll try and have some fun with it. Let's try and have some fun with it, because I think we should probably try and give our opinions about the whole situation first, before we get into the nitty gritty, so that we can at least vent and then have some fun with it. Otherwise, it's going to be a slog, and I don't want a slog for my viewers. So
no.
How do I begin? Let's see. Well,
we're terrorists now, guys.
I have been shared something, so I guess I can present it courtesy of James Up, and thank you very much. Appreciate you very much. Here we go. And
Not the Bible of God watching. Sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas. Certified boogeyman, I'm the one that up the score.
Oh god, I wasn't ill before.
It's
I don't
like
think I can play that song for any longer because it's going to make me want to rip out my eardrum.
It's like because I folks, I had a crazy aunt who was just like Alyssa Mercante. Even
chance have a cat.
No.
That is interesting because I could understand a lot of her personality could be attributed to toxoplasmosis, which you get from cat shit.
Mm-hmm.
It makes people nutty as fuck and like really, really like haphazard. Like caution to the wind, daredevil kind of, people do crazy shit. And that actually could explain why she behaves like someone with borderline personality disorder. Or she could just have borderline personality disorder.
Because I see the same signs. And I said had a crazy aunt because the crazy aunt is now dead. She even looks similar to Mercante, which is why every time I see this bitch, I look visibly uncomfortable because it's like seeing a ghost from the past. The same type of person, the same mentality, the same self-destructive nature. And it always ends the same way. They destroy themselves and they literally DEI themselves to oblivion.
I have never been so happy to be off camera than I am with today's show.
Yeah, we can't see your hands, John.
I mean, if you saw the expression on my face for the last 20 minutes.
This is a woman. I'm gonna have to put it back on screen for a moment just to illustrate my point. Unfortunately, this is a woman who describes herself as smart, hot, and slutty. And
she's one of the three.
She's 1 out of 3. Yeah, which also 1 is what I would rate her out of 10.
Right.
I mean,
but, hey, maybe by Time magazine's standards, is what she's going by.
I mean, she's really nothing to look at, is she?
No,
she's ruined
ramshackle tattoos that have no cohesion. Just
now we know what a woman would do after pressing a nuclear button.
Right?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, She-Hulk fan, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy, she has the face of a man's knee. Lilith, eyes 40, very more pretty.
Yep. That's the comment you can understand. Oh my goodness.
After an arrow to the knee. Jesus.
Fucking hell. All right. Let's get her off the screen then. Okay. So we'll begin with the headline because of course we have to address the ridiculous terminology being applied here. So we can start with Fandom Pulse.
God, now I'm
Alyssa Mercante JT for stochastic terrorism, defamation, and more. Now,
you're not stoic terrorism, Smash.
Oh yeah, they couldn't read it. Yeah. I was watching some of that. So I looked up stochastic terrorism because I didn't honestly know what it meant. I know a lot of words, but I didn't know that one. And it means randomly distributed, as in like without any kind of pattern. But thanks to apparently AOC, the combination of stochastic and terrorism means hate speech.
Yes.
I don't understand how. I don't understand how you make that mental leap from random to hate speech.
Yeah, how can you also understand the leap between bartender and senator /
right
woman?
I don't know, man. Coke is a hell of a drug.
I think when it applies to AOC, you have to just imagine. Just take someone who's like, what can I make that sounds like a word that I can actually find in the dictionary that's going to make it sound like what I'm saying is all the more qualified because I'm using, like it's a $5 word that means absolutely fuck all and just was there to substantiate the point. Because this all she started doing all this shit with January 6th, as I recall. So
chat is fire at the moment. These guys in the chat are fucking making me crease up quite.
Yeah, we're all terrorists now, guys.
Yeah, she ain't like us at all. Not at all.
Yeah. No, look, okay. So we've been dealing with this mad bitch for fucking like 9 months now. Okay. She first sort of appeared on the radar to defend and run interference for Sweet Baby Inc. He knows that. She wrote an article saying that Sweet Baby Inc. does not do what we have been able to pretty much all but prove they do, in fact, actually do.
Homely Stark.
We covered clips of Kim Bel-Air and such, which I will actually play again just to illustrate my point, because how can someone say that they do not, in fact, commit DEI, extortion, and terrorism themselves when we have the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. herself?
Go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them. With the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
But hey, that's just a theory. A theory.
So there you go. We have pretty much all the evidence you'd ever need to say that Sweet Baby Inc. are a DEI grift. But that is unfortunately how we ended up running into Mercante, and it escalated from there. She put us all on a list. She was put on a list. You know, it was list wars for a little while. That was kind of fun, I guess. It was nice to be acknowledged, I guess. She was, of course, found to be trying to dox people in one of the worst Solid Snake impressions I've ever seen, going into the Sweet Baby Inc. detected Discord and having a name, a face, and a job title on her profile, then asking everybody why they didn't have their real names, as if to take some sort of moral grandstand, but in fact actually just come across as looking like some kind of spy, looking to dox people for 15 seconds of fame in Kotaku in exchange for being made into an enemy of the fucking deep state or whatever. She's a deplorable piece of shit who has basically set her entire internet life around Smash JT, while at the same time claiming that he is in fact the one obsessed with her. But that isn't really the case.
No.
I mean, if a guy or a girl from the internet contacted my wife to try and break up our marriage, yeah, I'd probably be paying a little more attention to that person than everybody else when they pop up in the news. It's not hard to see why, really.
Yeah.
But of course, Mercante has done everything she possibly can to try and make all of that stuff disappear, deleting tweets and trying to portray herself as morally virtuous, despite the fact that anybody can absolutely subpoena X for deleted tweets and get them back for discovery, which is now what she is pushing towards with this insane fucking document here.
Yeah, it's like pressing the nuclear button, folks. Get ready for mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, you're right.
It's gonna happen to Mercante. Unfortunately, it's also gonna happen to Smash as well. Neither of you better have skeletons in your closet, folks, because this is a fucking wet dream for creator analysts. Because everything gets discovered in Discovery,
here's the thing, right?
And everything gets leaked.
I don't think it will. They say that the complaint, of course, is, you know, defamation, etc., 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 and jury trial demanded. And so the implication being there'll be no settlement. However, that implies that it actually has to be accepted as a legitimate case, and there are multiple major issues here in this document that will prevent it. And I'm not going to go ahead and mock the fucking Tranoid lawyer who's involved in it. And I know Hypno and Smash did a bit more of a deep dive into Don McGowan, who is associated with it as well. But the document itself is riddled with issues. It's actually stunning.
A literal empire of lies if it had a constitution.
I mean, one thing that just a bit, one of the most interesting things when you mentioned the list, one of the most interesting things about when she did her Mercante hit list is that Angry Badger was included amongst them, but for whatever reason, he has not been blocked from her X account like all three of us and many others have been. And I still to this day say that's just because she wants some Badger D.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, she certainly is you know, insatiable in that way, thirsting after fucking weirdos like Hassan Piker, for example. But then we'll get into that soon, because that actually has everything to do with why she was kicked out of Kotaku, which we now know is what happened. She may have resigned, but she was probably given no other choice. You can resign or we'll fire you.
Right. And rather than actually, like, I myself, like the last job I had before I started, you know, just streaming all the time, I went and I gave my 2 weeks notice, and then an hour later, after the manager, who was like just a super corpo type, he ran out to like do a catering, and he came right back. He said, "Get the fuck out." I was like, "Oh, cool, thanks. You know, you just gave me like, you know, a nice little buffer. I was just gonna quit." But she's not even smart enough to like, you know, like take the bag that she could have got with her unemployment insurance. But I guess she has her face to say that I did this. It was my choice. I'm changing directions, guys. Come buy pictures.
Yeah,
of my
and now she has to try and
Patreon.
extort someone for $75,000, which is the amount of money that she's actually after with this lawsuit. So I've had pretty much all day to be thinking about this, and I made this edited version of the document earlier on, because while it is far too late now to be able to do anything to stop Smash JT's real name being public knowledge, like I think I said in my video, you'd have to go way out of your way to not know his name by this point if you're at all involved or adjacent to Gamergate. But his address is a different thing entirely. There's even speculation that this whole thing is simply there in order to get thrown out before it ever gets to trial, because it's absurd.
Yes.
But in the process, she has legally doxed him. She published this herself to X. Thus,
rather
the access, and I'll scroll down a bit here before we get into the actual bullshit of it. This bit that I have covered with this red and black shit, that's his real address, like his street address. And while I can't stop anyone else from going and finding it any more than you can or he can.
Right.
I don't have to be a party to doxing my friend.
And this whole thing was a means to an end. I truly believe, just like you, that this was just her way of, like, because she doesn't even have like the stones to go and commit the crime for what it is. She went and had a lawyer do it for her.
And you know, the funny thing is that we were about as fucking classy as it's possible to be when she got doxed. Because she got herself fucking doxed by pissing off way too many people and ending up on Kiwi Farms, right? And when her docs got into my, you know, collection of stuff that I have about her, I was nice enough, I suppose is really the truth, to blur it all the fuck out and cover it up with highlighters so that none of the stuff that's not publicly known is actually visible when I covered it.
Well, you were a lot nicer about the situation than I was, Will, because I was
smashed article about it. Sorry, go on, Ryan.
Because you guys know what I like. I mean, respond to moderation with moderation if you can, and respond to extremism with an equal dose of extremism. To me, doxing is, as I said before, the nuclear weapon of content creation. You drop that on someone, they'll drop it on you, and the same goes in regards to a lawsuit and any potential leaks. The gloves are off, folks. She is completely done for. What better way to drive Smash into being more radical in his approach than to do something as insane as this? Because Smash is an upstanding guy. He's a moderate guy. I think Goonagate proved that to a T. But speaking of Goonagate, what better way to smash that any potential division?
It's probably the most controversial thing he's done.
Exactly. But what better way to smash any potential infighting, for lack of a better term, than to pull this insane move, which I saw coming, because she is mad enough to do this, and we have living
You really
proof of
believed
that.
she would, didn't you? I remember we had not a debate exactly, but we definitely disagreed about that. I really didn't think she would ever actually get to this point. I didn't think she was that insane. I reasonably thought that a person who's intelligent enough to get a decent job in journalism, whether you call it a decent job ethically or whatever, would also be able to realize that pushing this fucking shit, this bullshit utter tripe nonsense to the nth degree will only result in your life becoming worse. Like she's
being reasonable though.
She's not even a lol cow anymore. I don't know what she's the fucking whole farm. You know, she is. I don't know what she's an industrial fucking lol milk factory.
And she did this. And she did this at exactly the wrong time as well. If she had done this a few days earlier, right at the moment when Smash was in the middle, of a controversy, but she decided to do it at this point. I believe thinking that the creator communities would that too, but after a controversy, you're left reeling usually.
Yeah.
And that's usually the best time to
by that
exactly, which just goes to show, Will, that Mercante's specialty is not on her head; it's on her knees.
It certainly is. Let's just address a couple of things.
On her head, just giving head.
There it is. James Up has gifted $5 and says, "I doubt it will get to Discovery. Just my opinion as a non-lawyer, I think it will get tossed on its face. It will be interesting to see lawyers' takes." Yeah, well, of course, I am inclined to agree with you there because I'm not a lawyer either, but I'm certainly no idiot either. And I do know a couple of people who are lawyers, and I know enough to know what they might say. And Ryan, you've studied law as well, of course.
6 years. God
exactly.
Damn.
So you can certainly help us with some of this shit. But as I understand it, this document must be at least factually correct.
Oh, that's
right?
Basic
in order
bare
to
bones
qualify.
stuff. Yeah.
Minimal.
Right.
Yeah, it has to be factually correct. And there are a lot of parts of this that are either omitted or warped or just plain wrong. That or our opinion, conjecture. There's nothing in it with any real merit whatsoever.
I think the key.
Right away, you've got the Gamergate bit where they're talking about how the definition of Gamergate being a hate campaign, which it just fucking wasn't. But of course, no one can prove or disprove that. But there are things in here that are factually incorrect.
I think the purpose of this document is to build up a narrative and use precedent as a foundation for pushing a case. Because whether you're based in the United Kingdom, United States, throughout the Western world, legally speaking, folks, precedent is very important. If there have been prior cases similar to this that go through the process of a lawsuit, whether it leads to victory or defeat, it doesn't matter. As long as precedents to this case lead to the process, this case will become a process. And I think that's the key the opposition legal team is trying to establish. Because let's face it, folks, legal-minded folks, legal eagles, as Americans like to call them, they only give a damn about that. And as long as they can push the process, no matter their interpersonal beliefs, as long as they can push the process, that leads to more potential revenue. Now, I'd like to think, I hope, that Smash's legal counsel, Ron Coleman, perfectly fine, knowledgeable guy, is the exception to that rule. He's proved that in the past, and I'm sure he'll prove it in the future. But for the most part, legal-minded individuals, even those warped by woke ideology, are still motivated by getting the desired outcome for themselves, not for their clients, for themselves. Going through the process is the objective for Mercante's legal team, because they get paid either way.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely right. Yeah. I'm just going to get on to the other part of this that James Up shared for $2. Said she got doxxed because she said they couldn't. That's true. That's absolutely right. Sorry, something's happened to my window here. It's shrunk for some reason. Yeah, she did. She basically dared the internet to dox her, and so they did. It really wasn't very hard. It took literally about a day. And then she used that to try and whine and cry even more about all of that. absolute bollocks. So yeah, no legs whatsoever to stand on. And of course, before we get into the body text and talk about a couple of the stupid things that are contained therein, we also, first of all, thank you for your continued support. Anyway, also 55 likes, 86 people watching. Come on, folks, hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. Anyway, there is another element to this that really matters and could actually end up being the worst outcome for Mercante. And those, of course, we talked about it before when this was threatened, but it's slap laws, strategic lawsuits against public participation, designed to protect individuals from frivolous lawsuits that can have a chilling effect on free speech. So anti-slap basically literally is designed to punish people who try to waste court resources and people's time and intimidate and threaten people into shutting the fuck up and not saying anything about them.
Yep.
And if you are found in violation of these, you can get into an awful lot of trouble. So I'm not sure exactly what slap is punishable with, but I'm thinking it's probably more than a slap.
Well, when you consider civil case and civil wrongdoings, it's usually financial in nature, because in criminal cases, whether it's in the UK or the US, criminal charges warrant prison sentences, especially when they're serious. In regards to civil cases, when they are serious, then there's a lot that needs to be paid out, including asset stripping or legacy funding, in which your future projects, your future employment, you get milked dry to pay off the liabilities.
Yeah. Just again, coming back to the slap thing quickly, it says here, this is an AI response, by the way. So I have no idea, but it seems pretty knowledgeable. It says it would freeze discovery. It would then require the plaintiff to immediately prove their case. So before proceeding even anywhere near to a trial, you would have to have a proof that there is a case. And then you'll be instantly dismissed if you can't prove it. And then all the attorney fees and costs would be awarded to the defendant.
Yep.
Meaning she would then have to actually pay him just for even bringing this to his doorstep.
Yep.
Terrible,
Which
terrible.
I think is probably the best outcome that we can expect to come, see coming in the next few weeks.
Well, it's certainly better than ending up behind bars.
Well, from a reasonable, moderate...
sorry.
Well,
just 1 second.
Go on.
The other worse outcome would be that this somehow, despite there being no legal legs to stand on whatsoever for it, would actually make it, and somehow she wins. That then sets a precedent that would forever change social media, YouTube, content creation of every kind, and would result in just incredible amounts of censorship forever. And it would be all her fucking fault. So you better believe we're going to be siding against you, bitch.
Oh, absolutely. That's why precedent is very important in this case. I mean, from a moderate, balanced perspective, I can understand those such as Will, such as Hypno, who honestly believed that no lawsuit was coming. But as someone who understands radicalism, who understands extremism, and tries his best to unleash the best parts of it, not the worst parts, obviously. The great strength of a radical mind is commitment and principle to a cause. And in her case, she was so committed to bringing down Smash that she found a legal team over the course of many months and tried to build up a narrative that has to be based on precedent. Because a legal team's reputation, even one infected with the woke mind virus, understands that if they just keep hitting legal walls without even getting into the process of a lawsuit, it'll never work, and they will never work again, and they won't have a basis for existence. And that's why I think this case's strongest foundation from the opposition side is that there has to be a precedent for this somewhere.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
big of a sigh roll do you think they're having over at Gawker Media today that they got rid of this Mercante? Yeah.
Probably a lot. Yeah, very big. Yeah. Before we proceed, Raging D-Head jumped in for 2 and said, reminder, she's not a whore, without a W. I guess that's to avoid censorship. And then, again, just to reiterate, another 2, not a whore.
Maybe you say it enough times, it'll be true.
Then, of course, Mephisto X jumps in, just says she's a 304. I do like that one. And it rhymes. And then James Up, just right now at this moment, jumped in for another 2, said her male lawyer's been involved since the beginning. Is that the McGowan dude? It does seem like he's actually been around a fair bit. He's been involved in lots and lots of things, even working for Microsoft or something. I think I saw earlier on.
Yeah, in about 20 minutes. In about 20 minutes last night, Hypno, he just kind of like he did the discovery last night in real time in front of everybody.
He made
just
a video
like,
about it. The guy, so he recognized him.
Yeah,
and that was very fortuitous actually, because it led to a whole bunch of shit being uncovered, which is why I'm not particularly interested in covering it ourselves. Everybody here will have already seen that, so. But very interesting.
And if you haven't, you should. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. You should definitely check out Smash JT's stream from last night, American time. Anyway, thanks again, James. Alrighty then. We begin with the preliminary statement, which is all about modern video game enthusiasm being marked by the presence of semi-organized, outrage-driven campaigns for harassment. This is not true. This is a lie.
Yeah.
The very first statement is unprovable. You actually cannot prove any actual organization, because there is none and never was, or any particular campaign for harassment. There's never been one, not on our side anyway. Gamergate 1 was a customer revolt. Gamergate 2 is a customer revolt. It is literally just seeing corruption everywhere in the games industry, from journalism to the nepotism that goes on in the industry, and all the way into the DEI grifting and brainwashing and indoctrination, and opposing it vehemently because it is bad for everything, not just gaming. There is no official movie gate, but that's been going on for a decade as well. So this is bullshit. There's no evidence to prove this. So straight out of the gate, weak, exceptionally weak.
It's a pretext to form a narrative,
of course,
to harness narrative control in a preliminary statement. This is literally, in terms of an introduction or a foundation, an attempt, a bad attempt, but still an attempt to build a foundation for the building of their argument. I mean, from 5 different angles, because I glanced through this, folks, because I treated it with the seriousness it honestly deserves. But the opposition are looking at this from 5 different angles, and none of them have a solid basis, in my view.
It then claims that any Gamergate accusation that Sweet Baby Inc. does, in fact, forcibly insert gender, sexual, or ethnic minority characters into a game is incorrect. But the thing is, we have a hell of a lot of pattern recognition that we have been able to identify game after game after game after game, where people come out and say they haven't actually been able to make what they were originally going to because a consultant came in and told them to change a race, change a gender. In some cases, literally put a 1-to-1 version of Kim Belair herself in the fucking game.
Yep.
There's so much we know about Sweet Baby Inc. now, thanks to all the people who've done amazing research into it. People, of course, like Master of the TDS, Savvy, Grums. We know
legitimate journalism.
We know that this is what they do.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether they forcibly insert it or whether they extort companies with the threat of what will happen if you don't let us do this. You'll be branded as sexist. So it doesn't really matter. Alyssa Mercante was a senior editor at Kotaku, one of the most successful gaming news websites. I mean, perhaps
successful,
it was.
Like Mailguard?
Yeah.
You liar!
Anyway, it says, now this part here, I don't know, what do you think about this, Ryan? Because this is very, very like spuriously punctuated. It says Kotaku has long enjoyed the derision and ire of a certain set of alt-right trolls online. Right now,
so I'm
alt-right is in quotation marks there, as if to imply poetic license, you know, with the language used, but the word trolls is not. Now, are we to assume then that they literally mean literal trolls?
I think from my analysis, I don't think this was a mistake. I think it was deliberate. I think it was deliberate with the alt-right because you cannot really define it in a solid set, especially in a legal case. I think this was done deliberately because it's a way of tying the original Gamergate with Gamergate 2 together. One that has poetic license in the first, because they weren't just all of a certain political framework. But in the second case, especially over the past, it hasn't even been a year, 9 months, they're going to make the argument that this is all based on the concept of trolling, just to get a rise out of people, in this case, Mercante. That's the argument they're going to make. Yeah. That's the wall they're going to drive straight into.
What about the fact that trolls as a word, as a lexical item used in here to define human beings, is not in inverted commas or quotation marks, along with the rest? Because alt-right trolls is the full phrase, but they have not put trolls in the quotes, thereby implying literal trolls, which do not exist.
Fantastical creature.
It's slang. It's slang terminology. It doesn't belong in a legal document.
It's definite dehumanizing language to appeal to the personal bias of the people that they are trying to convince in the legal system, which they assume, Mercante's legal team assumes, has a liberal or leftward bias. Why? State of New York, state of California, blue as you can possibly get, and as left-wing politically as you can possibly get. Although the infiltration is nowhere near as effective in the legal system, you cannot deny it is there, whether we like to admit it or not.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing is that you know, it's just absurd to think that you can call people trolls in a legal document and not have it immediately been thrown out for factual inaccuracy. It should have just said supporters or something. Yeah. And I mean, alt-right is nebulously defined at best anyway. So
why it's in air quotes, and trolls
it is better
not
defined later, but because this is 54 pages, most of which repeats itself.
I would suppose when you make a career out of yellow journalism, though, it's just hard to kind of get away from that as being your immediate kind of de facto mindset on how you want to like plot out the wording. But her lawyers, anybody who wrote this document should have told her, we can't use that. You can't
use it. Sensationalist shit. Exactly. Says among these vociferous, ceaseless critics is Jeff. I'm not going to read it. A social media influencer who publishes videos related to video games. Blah 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 blah. Smash JT. Says he's declared Kotaku to be everything wrong with the video game industry. That's an opinion. Based on evidence that many people agree with and have done for a decade. It is an example of what most gamers perceive to be everything wrong with the modern video game industry. But even if so, it's not. It's just an opinion. How is that? That's not defamation.
No.
Anyway,
at worst, it's offensive. You know,
he had
at worst,
a petition to have him shut down. Yeah, that's not illegal either. That's not defamation. That's not harassment. He wants people to sign it and see how many people got into it. I guarantee if he did it now, he'd get a lot more signatures.
Right.
I mean, he's quadrupled his subscriber base since then. And
I think it's gone up by nearly a factor of 8,
it's
maybe
like
9.
8.5 or something like that. He was at 20,000 plus. Now he's in the 90s. He could hit 100 before the end of the year. Well, I'm still struggling to hit 10. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, come on.
We're all at different levels of our creator journey. John's just starting out. I've been on it for years, and like
that's not any kind of professional jealousy, by the way, guys. I'm absolutely made up for him. I was just using it as a cheap segue to a plug for my own channel.
Exactly. Exactly. Don't hate the player, folks. Hate the game. And I think that really boils down to the Mercante madness. She's hating the players when she should be hating the game. And a great way for her to make a name for herself is to not criticize creators condemning her, but to criticize the art and the craft of content creation on how it's uniquely negative and damaging and dehumanizing, while Mercante is uniquely damaging and dehumanizing people in her statements, highlighting herself as an utter hypocrite.
I mean, clearly she's
successive
on the fact that New York is blue as fuck.
Yeah,
right. But even the success of supposed negative, campaigns, and not even the word campaign is appropriate here, but negative kind of, opinions that are, not that actually do well online. That has less to do with the content creator than it does the audience. Because if it wasn't something that people were actually, thinking themselves, these people wouldn't get the views. It would be all sunshine and rainbow content.
Oh yeah,
which is why if Mercante prevails, ladies and gentlemen,
we're all fucked.
Yeah, not just creators, but viewers. Every single
will not be able to say anything.
Exactly, because every one of you, through the lawsuit process of discovery and litigation, every one of us, every one of you watching will be revealed, especially if it really goes down to the roots. Because that's the best way to destroy a movement, is down to the roots.
Right. Which goes to prove just how much of a journalist she's not, because she doesn't even, actually advocate for freedom of speech in terms of being able to speak your own mind, and actually editorialize or anything like that. I mean, she's shooting herself in the foot along with everyone else.
She'd end up poisoning the well for herself as well. She'd fuck it up completely. By the way, seen and heard for £2, and thank you very much for that. Says this doc has more dad jokes than a hypno stream. Yeah, it's more super chat now than stream.
I wouldn't go that far. I'm actually documenting them.
No, I mean Hypnocast. It's more dad jokes now than anything else.
Well, I can agree with that statement because I don't document them.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, now obviously she moves on to the Kotaku Detected page on smashjt.com and points out that the people listed are women, people of color, non-binary individuals, people on the LGBT spectrum, and/or Jews. And
I just find that so funny because it's like,
because I've never considered anybody based on whatever their faith might be in that list of Kotaku Detected people. What were you going to say, Ryan?
Well, when you're making like an impassioned statement of you've criticized all these people and Jews, it's
weird. Now, the other thing that needs pointing out here is the fact that, and obviously this is more shameless pandering to a potentially blue state, is the fact that it's not our fault or anything to do with the reason behind why these people are the recipients of the criticism, that they are women, people of color, non-binary, blah, blah, LGBT, or Jewish. But that one at least definitely has no relevance whatsoever. It's not because they are these types of people. In fact, it's because they are these types of people that they've got to where they are within Kotaku, you could argue. And thus, our only motivation for criticizing them is that the nepotism that allowed them to get into the industry based on having these characteristics is the reason we criticize them in the first place, not the characteristics themselves. To try and fucking muddy the waters there.
Yeah, we try to make our things based on people's merit, their quality of character, the way that they're actually, presenting themselves in the moment itself. And all those other tertiary details are, those are unique to the individual, and they don't really enter into the equation. We're not looking to go after any of these people for any of those reasons. They come out, they do a whole bunch of song and dance about how they should be celebrated and how they're, either automatically victimized, and that's part of the reason that they're coming out and doing their thing, or how they have the privilege to not be victimized. And then when people actually speak to those terms, then then it just sets the whole thing off. So
Will made a great point in his video. Citing Wikipedia as a source is a dead-on arrival strategy. I mean, if you want to be a lazy bastard, source the sources from Wikipedia, not Wikipedia itself.
And besides, if you actually do that, if you were to actually go to the Gamergate Wikipedia page, the sources are all from incredibly biased places or other pages of Wikipedia.
Right.
So
Wikipedia is not even allowed to be a source for high school,
exactly.
Like I have to write a paper
for
my
That's exactly
class,
what I said in my video. Yeah. You can't submit a fucking term paper with Wikipedia as a source. So there you go. Anyway, we'll carry on. So we've got to that point. We can continue a bit further down. Says he took aim at Alyssa after she published an article refuting the lies, fabrications, and distortions around the consulting business of Sweet Baby Inc., which are not lies. They're speculations, perhaps, but they are based on a lot of time spent looking at and digging into the activity of this company. And the net result of their involvement in the game industry is a shitload of DEI and crappy games.
Right.
So
and a lot
how is it a
of
lie?
incestuous self-dealing.
These statements that we make are based on what we perceive to be most likely factual, but are still just opinions. Excuse me.
Right.
That's why perspective is very important, and that is why all of us here, especially myself, I dare say I can speak for all of us when I say, we all want fresh blood to enter the arena because it expands perspectives, it expands thoughts, and the more perspectives, the more angles that can be taken from a situation, the better, because that'll give us a much better point of reference. In the case of this lawsuit filing, Mercante and her legal team are basically going on the offensive in 5 different directions. All it takes is for one of those to succeed into the process for discovery to be unleashed. Now, thank goodness for anti-slap laws, folks, which provides an extra level of protection. But all it takes is one of the 5 to get through that process, and then we're into the discovery phase. After that, the litigation phase, and then after, of course, the final process, which is going to devastate both sides. That's why I compare it to nuclear warfare. At least in Smash's case, he's got a great team around him, full of great guys and gals who are willing to support him, bare minimum in terms of publicity and maximally in terms of finances. So it just goes to show he has the support base to take this kind of hit. Mercante does not. So why is she on the offensive? Because she's a radical extremist who wants to set the world on fire, even if it's
she's the Joker.
Personal world. Exactly, John.
Yeah. And obviously,
and even in that point,
the existence of Gamergate 2.0, which, as far as I was aware, was only the person who calls it that is Hypno. The rest of us just call it 2. But
and even in the point that was being made in that little thing, it says after she had made her report. So again, like this is
that
not
actually isn't
this is not
necessarily
harassment
accurate either,
right?
Because
but
he's criticizing her work, right? And then she says,
and that's what I'm saying. Is
there's nothing
going after
defamatory.
Her.
There's nothing defamatory or harassing in that, but I don't think that they're actually trying to say that there is actually at this point, because it then Also, by the way, the citations here do not actually date when she wrote that article. It's not included. The first these are from May and July, and she wrote that article in like March or February. I can't remember exactly when, but it was early. Anyway, it wasn't even him that first took aim at her. It was loads of people. I mean, I don't know what exactly his involvement with her was right at the beginning, but he was railing against Kotaku at large, while plenty of us were already making videos about Mercante in particular.
Great example of a person's work is an extension and thereby a connection of themselves. That is one reason why Mercante went after Smash. Also, from the mindset of a radical, from one radical to another, folks, you always target the most moderate. You never target the most prominent. You never target the most radical, because radical meets radical sets the world on fire. You target the most moderate who you believe to be a pushover. You never target the most prominent.
That's what I sort of secretly think is the motive here for going after Smash JT, because there's an interesting part. I don't know if is it on this page. No, she describes his or not she, but the lawyer who wrote this describes the content as hyperbolic, vitriolic, incorrect, conspiratorial, paranoid, juvenile, and crass, but legal. I wouldn't use any of those terms to describe Smash JT's work. He's the measurement of moderate reporting out of all of us. He's far less sensationalist than most of us. I never even hear the guy like really raise his voice. He barely ever swears. He's absolutely pretty much the most gentlemanly out of all of us.
Well, as someone who's hyperbolic, vitriolic, correct most of the time, bloopery, I am a bit conspiratorial. I'm definitely paranoid, but I keep that to myself. And I dare say I am juvenile because I'm usually the youngest person in the group. And I'm definitely crass. Spear chucking is proof of that. I mean, this applies more to a radical than it does a moderate.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, she also wouldn't target the least prominent because you can't get anything out of that. Yeah. So Smash was the perfect target.
Yeah. So then they claim that he crossed the line into illegal, unprotected speech, which of course is absolute bollocks. And then I'm going to keep going down here. So you guys feel free to weigh in anytime.
Go on, John. Go ahead. I sense you are eager to speak your piece.
Well, I was just saying, like, in that description, you know, I'm a closer to that definition probably than most people here, but I don't have any prominence, so nobody comes after me for jack shit about anything.
Because those points are not based on reality; they're based on the narrative that is being proposed in this document. That is to justify the whole action in itself.
Here's one thing that you definitely need to acknowledge if you're looking for ways that this can be just quickly thrown out, besides, you know, the fact that she's been deleting evidence, is the fact that the claim is that they got the number in damages of $75,000 because apparently that's what his income has exceeded this year as a direct result of his work with Alyssa Mercante. That's not fucking true. Okay, there's no part of this that is true in any way, shape, or form. First of all, he says that he can absolutely prove that his income has not exceeded that amount or anything close to it this year. And considering that he only recently started streaming and those streams only recently started getting the kind of super chats that they're getting now, I'd be very much inclined to believe it.
Yeah, 30% immediately goes to YouTube. And then you get taxed on top of that.
Well, I will say, though, this looks like a bait to get someone's financial records. And when I say everything is released in Discovery, folks, everything gets released in Discovery. And neither side is obliged to keep that information to themselves. So it almost leaks. It's like the nuclear option. From my perspective, Section 33 is an attempt to bait for financial records. They get the financial records. They then the opposition ushers in a cancel culture campaign, and Smash JT gets debanked.
I mean,
yeah, I guess that's what they want. Yeah. So then we go to facts, where we have absolutely, well, we have obviously an untrue statement or something that cannot be proven in Gamergate 1 being an organized harassment campaign. So that cannot be stated as a fact because, you know,
well, what's an unorganized harassment campaign? I mean, the term
what's a harassment campaign?
Yeah, I mean, campaign itself, like whether it's organized or unorganized.
Make a video about a certain subject. No one has ever told me to fall in line and cover this subject because we have to make sure we take it down. No one.
Well, the greatest weakness, and that's why it's sorry, John, but the greatest weakness among creators and communities is a lack of organization. It's something that I've tried my best to point out. So when you see a group of creators actively organized, it's very rare, but it does happen. The kind of things that can be created are astonishing. Geeks and Gamers is a fantastic example of this. But to make the argument, be it in 2014 or even today in 2024, that an organized harassment campaign against numerous targets, not just one, is promulgated this entire movement 10 years ago when creator communities were barely fermenting in that period. Because not many people were doing this, folks, highlighting the problems with popular culture, because the problems weren't really there. You couldn't really pick them out back in 2014. And from my perspective, it's simply a rehashed attempt to form a narrative based on a legacy controversy.
And in terms of calling it an organized harassment campaign, like, we're barely even organized. We get, like, you know, maybe about an hour or so before the show, we do topics of the day. So that's stuff that is not set into motion by us. That's stuff that we're commenting on that's happening in the world abroad. And, you know, the idea that if it were a campaign, this would be something that'd be like, oh, we're going to do this on this day, we're going to do this on that day, we're going to, like, you know, and there's no way for us, like, we're not, you know, soothsayers or anything like that. We can't tell the future and like, you know, like, set up this whole thing, because the only way that you can even be successful in this topic of the day based arena is to, you know, meter what's actually already happening so that you can be in this, you know, zeitgeist, for lack of a better term.
The overwhelming mission of Gamergate or any movement like this is to alert as many normies as possible to the fact that they're being deceived, ripped off, and scammed.
Yeah, if there's any campaigns
to stop it gaining any more ground. The only way to do that is to make content that spreads awareness of these fucking people and the shit that they're up to. As was requested, this is one of the lawyers, J. Remy Green. I wonder if that was originally Jeremy, because obviously we have a Tranoid in the scene here. That's exactly what we have. This is a dude. A penis owner, or what was it Hypno said earlier on? A person with a prostate.
Yes.
and as a result...
Surprise, a prostate individual with a prostate mindset.
Nah! Demons! Like demons!
But, you know, like, even when it applies to, like,
responsible for this, by the way, are activists themselves. They're just as radical and insane as she is, and yeah, that's the only way you could get someone to take up a case like this, because you are attacking free speech.
And as it applies to the thing about organizations, we comment on organizations that have campaigns. But we are not organized, and this is not in any way, shape, or form a campaign.
We could probably accomplish a lot more.
Right. Like, this is disorganized commentary at best. You know,
there isn't even one group. There's like 8 groups of friends who work together, and there's some overlap between them. As Seen and Heard pointed out for £2, by the way. Oh wow, not that one. Sorry. Edward Scissortrans. There you go. I think that's fantastic. So I don't know what happened there. It popped up. Oh, it's because of the next one after that. So yeah, Edward Scissortrans. That's good. And the other one is Marilyn Transon, and but I think Edward Scissortrans is actually even better than that. So
It is.
well done. Very good. That was funny. Yeah. And the one that nudged that up, so I clicked on the wrong one, was, but still, I'm very grateful for Eris Rhoda, or gifting 5 Will of the Fans memberships, and thank you very much for that. I was distracted. I was distracted by the monstrous visage on the screen. So anyway, we'll wrap this up in the next few minutes, but there are multiple incorrect statements in this, which alone is enough to get it thrown out.
Yeah. This whole thing's a farce.
Then they discussed Alyssa Mercante, which is just fucking funny because it says she was the senior editor at Kotaku, she's written for other publications, blah, 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 like Jezebel, for fuck's sake, says she is bold, brassy, and opinionated.
She's a Bob.
Oh, so, right.
Bold, brassy, and opinionated. It sounds like a lifestyle magazine headline for how to be a 21st century feminist. Do you know what I mean? It sounds like the exact kind of bullshit, like platitudes that someone like her would want to hear about herself. I wouldn't describe her as any of those things. I would definitely call her opinionated. Instead of bold, I would call her,
well, you can take off the B and the R. She is assy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
bitchy.
brassy. I just bitchy. Yeah, inappropriate.
But even
ignorant.
this is a statement of privilege, because what she can be described as opinionated. Well, we're not allowed to have opinions. Is that
exactly
what we're trying to set the legal precedent for? That only people that have like a journalist degree and a corporation behind them are allowed to express themselves freely?
She's turned into a TikTok twat. Thank goodness TikTok is going to be banned in the beginning of 2025, unless ByteDance sells off their American branch to an American company.
Yes, that is Trump's still back on that, is he? That's good. Yep. Where was the last thing I wanted to talk about? Just a moment. This is mostly the Destiny stuff, which I'm trying to get to, but there's so many pages and I've got so much shit to cover.
It's very interesting, though, that you're seeing these pro-state minds colliding together, folks. They are hanging together. The opposition are hanging together. And it's all these pro-state minds. And I think that's very important to point out. These people who want to centralize power in a singular collective, not for their own ends, but to do in their opposition, namely people like us who value freedom, social peace, economic prosperity, full bellies, that sort of thing. That is the thing that folks like Mercante are against, but thank goodness, the only part of the human body that matters, the brain, is the one thing the opposition lacks. Because if they didn't lack that, none of us would be here right now.
Yeah. It says here, as with any rough beast born of fanning the flames of online hate. What kind of fucking legalese
Who is
that?
this written by?
Jeff's harassment campaign went beyond direct attacks upon Mercante on his channel. As a part of her participation in online gaming culture, Mercante would sometimes appear with other online personalities. Name drops Hassan Piker, because of course we all know she's got a wide on.
Can't ever stop thirsting for Hassan.
Some of the shit she said is really inappropriate. Says that she was at TwitchCon 2024. Piker was there too. Said that his commentary on the Middle East has drawn ire from many sources. Then points out that Destiny attacked Mercante for her coverage of Piker, digging up a 2-year-old article written about Piker by Mercante. This doesn't involve JT at all. Okay.
Yeah.
How is it an example of his harassment going beyond him?
Oh, look, a dick sucker criticized the dick sucker.
It then says here that JT piled on, so followed Destiny, and was not, in fact, the ringleader. In fact, Destiny,
recommend doing that.
If there is any, I don't know if there's any interaction that we've seen between the two, but I dare say Destiny would fucking abhor Smash JT and any of us, because he is, of course, a leftist cuck. So
yeah, who sucks dicks?
By every definition.
who literally sucks dicks, yeah.
Just like Mercante.
And I ain't touching that with a 10-foot pole because I would have to watch a video of it to be able to prove it, and I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and that's not happening.
I'll watch Shooty Gatwa play the Doctor, okay, but that's the line.
Right. At
He
least
played Doctor with Destiny.
I had to watch him kiss another dude in one episode. I'm not watching Destiny sucking a cock. All right, not happening.
This reminds me of horrors that await me when I actually delve into those most, newest seasons. May we never cover them.
Oh man,
Into the Valley of Death.
the worst thing I've ever said on this channel.
Can we go back to the 1960s Doctor Who and just start all the way from the beginning?
John, in all seriousness, although this is a tangent within a legal document, which is not surprising considering who authored it, but literally a dick sucker criticized a dick sucker for defending a guy who likes his dick getting sucked.
There we go.
Well, see, that's what I was saying. Ryan calls me a tangent king of all things. And then you look at this document and it seems like I actually just try to keep things on the straight and narrow as much as possible. What does this have to do with any of this?
Use of the word straight there. Like it. Anyway, okay, so it carries on down there trying to blame Destiny's actions on Smash JT and results in basically saying that because of Smash JT, not Destiny, who, by the way, doesn't appear to have been sued.
No.
Say, this is insanity. Geo Media were under pressure after complaints about anti-Semitism from Alyssa Mercante to let her go, and she agreed to resign. So that's why she left. Because of Destiny, not Smash JT.
And she has the temerity. And she
it's
has
listed in the fucking complaint that Destiny started it.
And she has the temerity to accuse Smash JT of putting people on lists because they're Jews.
Oh, it's insanity. I mean, I don't think I can't remember. Maybe it does. No, I don't think she mentions anything about her list of YouTubers.
No. And that's what I'm saying. All the omissions and all the, intentional, attempt to make all the evidence that would be there time-stamped and actually legitimized that she's now thinking that she's going to get away from because I've deleted it. I'm so smart. Everything that you do online is on a hard drive somewhere. That's how this stuff works.
Then there's the hoax about him being on a cuck site, and the fact that it also claims that was actually confessed as a hoax by the person who done it. It's I don't understand why in the world this has anything to do with anything, but of course it's just more pandering to leftism. We've got another insane thing near the end, which Smash JT himself pointed out.
This was written for an activist judge, and if they don't get one of those, it's going to be completely and utterly thrown out.
It says that Smash JT relies upon the backing and presence of others. Within his social circle to harass and intimidate his critics. He has never attempted to harass or intimidate anyone. The guy is a teddy bear.
Well, Smash,
he's a lovely man.
Even the argument here in point 238 has no basis because Smash has been doing this for nearly a decade. He tangoed with the best of them before he ever interacted with the self-proclaimed bigot verse. I should know. I discovered him through a passionate viewer quite a few years ago.
You introduced me to him.
I introduced Hypno to him. Yeah, of all the people who were aware of Smash prior to his entry into the Bigotverse, I dare say, the only one, but I can't back that up off the top of my head. And it just goes to show that in the years before, 2023, 2024, I have to cough. One moment.
That's all right. I have to do it all the time.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
It's just that he's been doing this for a long time. He's tangoed with the best of them. He's had many highs. I mean, the GameStop high is a great example. He's also had a few lows. Invested in Tommy Tellerico's Intellivision Amico, and it completely fucking collapsed. And Tellerico went bye-bye, I'm taking all the money. So he's had his fair shares of ups and downs, and Smash put, I think, about 10 grand into that. So he's had his ups, he's had his downs, but he's not a radical, and he doesn't send people to go after fellow creators, or in this case, demented journo rats.
Yeah. Just a second, guys, because Mephisto X is here for £5. Says never underestimate how well connected these leftist communists and FUBARD individuals are. Yeah, well, that is, of course, the big problem. It's first of all the problem that we have attempted to oppose in Gamergate, and then, of course, the problem that may end up complicating this matter, but hopefully will not, because it is, of course, batshit insanity. But thank you. Yeah, of course, you're absolutely right, as usual, Mephisto X. And then James Up chimed in for $2 more dues, and thank you very much for that. Telling me to check DMs for the real reason that she got fired, which of course is the shocking developments of themselves. So you can basically see how it's plummeted from what it was doing before. In general, it's just absolutely awful. Trajectories down, quick spike, massive spike in October,
4 month period,
and then horrifyingly down again. So yeah,
Jesus,
there's that to consider as well. Absolutely. And
as we've said many times, it takes a long time to build something up, but it takes almost no time to bring something down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Kotaku's doomed. We've been saying this for a year now. I mean, with or without us or Smash JT or End Kotaku or Kotaku Detected, though I'm sure these things are helping, Kotaku's going the way of the dinosaur, and they deserve it.
Employees left.
Yeah, they absolutely deserve to be going extinct because they are not fit for purpose any longer.
No, they're irrelevant. They engage in yellow journalism. You know, it's a whole bunch of conjecture and lies most of the time. And then, you know, when that doesn't work, then they start claiming that they're being harassed, you know, and they just go into social justice warrior mode, you know, if you have that clip ready, you know, but
no, don't need it.
That's all right.
Well, what we can do is point out here what JT pointed out himself earlier on, which is the fact that this is the description of a mafia boss.
Yeah, that was the best one of the best parts last night.
This is basically Don. So we all started calling him Don Jeff. It's fucking funny. And then someone told me to go to 0.254.
Yes, a fellow Ryan.
I don't see a 0.254 in this. Is there a reason for that?
Maybe 0.245, because we Ryans are known for our bloopers.
I guess, yeah. Undeniably suffered compensable damages within the jurisdiction of the court, including, but not limited to, lost wages, loss of business opportunity, loss of business goodwill, damage to reputation, loss of employment, mental anguish, and punitive damages for which demand is now made.
Jesus Christ. I hope this process goes through so you'd be under indentured servitude to Smash JT for the rest of your fucking days, you annoying bitch.
Yeah,
I get the sense that I get the sense her salary from Kotaku must have been somewhere around 50 grand, and so she's trying to get like basically a year and a half of her salary to just be able to.
That's fucking lot for a journalist.
Well, I understand, but you know, it's just kind of like, you know, par for the course in terms of like where she lives and this and that. It's not quite at a 6-figure range, but because it's a large conglomerate that is actually like, you know, putting this thing out.
It could be actually, yeah, somewhere between 40 and 50 because she was an editor, and editors do make that kind of range in general journalism.
But I can't see her trying to do this for less than she would make in a year. But this looks like somebody who's trying to get a nice payout to just kind of fuck about and like do whatever they fancy, and you know, have someone else pay for it.
That's why she was dancing around like a TikTok twat. She's so deluded that she thinks she has prevailed. It's like if a crazy Karen launched a fucking nuke and was dancing for a solid few minutes before the retaliatory strike wipes her out of existence. Literally, she's mad. This whole situation is mutually assured destruction.
This has to be toxoplasmosis or borderline personality disorder.
Or
lesbianism.
I hope they put this
Only a
into
mad bitch would do this, and it really is insane. It's worse because she clearly actually believes her own bullshit.
Right. If I was part of her legal counsel, I would put this in the counterclaim. Just be like, "This is who
you mean Smash's legal counsel."
Sorry, sorry, Smash legal. See, that's that whole thing about being incorrect. Like I said, the description of who they were going after far more applies to me.
Yeah, the opposition aren't so stupid, John, that they would counter sue themselves.
I mean,
if it were that easy, we would have won by now.
I've got
right. I believe all the time.
Even I have a folder with like 80 screenshots in it. Just of she's pulled. Because not for me really, but for anyone who needs it. There you go. So if that's what I've got, imagine what Smash JT has.
Imagine what Hypno has.
Oh, what? I know.
Well, nobody wants to imagine what she has.
Smash both have far more than I have.
Well,
mostly
folks,
STDs.
never let a crisis go to waste. Whether we like it or not, this is a crisis situation, especially due to the fact that Smash has been doxxed. So outsource your postal deliveries, my good man, for your own sake, if nothing else.
Well, this is a wider implication on the rest of us. In terms of just, like I was mentioning earlier about like the implications on our freedom to speak, about these terms, about anything in any given terms. Because unless you have the backing of some kind of vaulted organization, you're not going to be allowed to like say what you're doing. Otherwise, it's stochastic terrorism, and
look, John,
bullshit terms.
I'll find a red Chinese content creator. We'll have reality be based in Red China, and then in exchange for speaking my mind, at the end of every show, I praise Red China, and not mention any camps and things, and never talk about Blue China, which is blue, not red. So then we'll have freedom of speech.
That'll do. That's enough. That's enough. Had enough. Done now. 20 minutes over, and that's fine. I don't think this will. I mean, I'm sticking to my guns. This will never actually see a courtroom.
Yeah.
I just don't think Ron Coleman was born yesterday. I think that he is very well versed in exactly what she's trying to pull. He's had a lot of success in it before. He will know exactly how to combat this, and it will go away. Just like the Black Girl Gamers versus That Park Place, and whatever happened to Alyssa's C&D for Kiwi Farms, which is the actual place where her docs is.
This is the difference between getting qualified legal counsel and queerified legal counsel.
There it is. Boom. Straight away there. On that note, let's do our outros. Chat, if you have anything else you want to super, then go right ahead. But honestly, I'm very happy with today. John, what you got coming up?
Yeah. Well, later today, Infinite Retro and I are going to be embarking on a new series of sorts, kind of getting a little bit controversial. And
the Bender show. He's Ben, you're good.
Yeah. And then, of course, other than that, I'm just doing more production work for Scooby's next podcast, which will be on December 28th. And so I'm just working towards those ends, and otherwise just doing the standard stuff that I always do. Getting prepped for tomorrow's Tangent Kings, and then, watching Doctor Who for Sunday morning, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, just as I always say, have safe travels ahead. Have a wonderful weekend going forward, and be awesome as always.
Beautiful. Lovely. Ryan?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching the 68th episode of who couldn't
Nope.
I was gonna
I
say
did it the
who.
other time.
I know.
Another
WTF.
WTF live.
Sunday morning. See, bloopers all
I
around.
know. Thank you very much for watching the 68th episode of WTF Live. You see, that's why we have System Crash and Hoovian, so I don't mistake the two. But as for me, you can check me out over at Ryan Rogerath. I am the host and founder of Reality Based, as well as all of our variant shows. One tomorrow, which will be Tangent Kings. Hopefully we'll have lots of guests for that show. Lots of criminally underrated fine folks and fellow creators. And I'll try my best to keep on going, and fingers crossed, keep on growing. But I might take Saturday off because I haven't really taken a day off so far in December. And I'm supposed to be wrapping up 2024, not going into a different year, into a higher
2024 has been a good year, though. If it refuses to die just yet, I won't be too disappointed.
2025 is going to be even better.
I think Ryan's just trying to keep himself busy so he doesn't have to do Dustbin, which he has promised to do because,
Shut up, John.
And I know. But
Shut
again,
up,
this
John.
just goes to show
I don't
our
play that game.
I know you don't. But that just goes to show, like, this little outro that we've done, the lack of organization that we actually possess. So,
oh, nice segue. I like it. Are you done, Ryan?
I am now.
All right.
I broke his heart.
All right. Cool cats. Thank you very much for checking out this episode number 68, meaning next time it will be number 69. Nice. I have no intention of doing anything different or special for that whatsoever, but feel free to give me some ideas. On Sunday, we have WTF Live. That will be the Doctor Who show. We'll be talking about Christmas specials as we try to forestall ever having to talk about the Jodie Whittaker series, but that day is coming soon. And of course, before all that, we'll be doing the 2024 Christmas special of Doctor Who, which I'm sure will be just as disappointing as we expect. Speaking of System Crash, that is the name of my old channel. I am thinking of repurposing some of the content that used to be on there. There were some top 10 lists, analysis videos and things like that I used to do, which I thought would be wasted on that tiny little channel now, and maybe some of you guys in the members block would like to have a look at some of that. So I might pump out a couple of them over the Christmas period if I don't have time to make a video for some reason. There'll be some content for some of you anyway. And other than that, in about an hour, about half an hour from now, I have a Doctor Who related video coming out. So hopefully you'll be watching that. It's about whether or not we will be getting series 2 in the first half of next year. It was 215 or 41 of Doctor Who. So I hope you'll enjoy that, and just keep an eye on the channel. Like, share, subscribe. Love you all, and thank you very much to the panel, to the members, to the rest of the chat, and especially to James Opp, Fen Glord, Andy C. Wow, James up about 1 million more times. The Raging D Head, and Seen and Heard, Iris Rhoda, Mephisto X. You guys were very generous today, and I appreciate it. So we'll be back again. All of what I just said. Until then, nothing to do but wave to the camera stupidly and say see you next time.
Bye for now.
See you next Tuesday for a fine 69.
And fuck Alyssa.